I tell you this, Bate. I live on battery. I carry my heart in the back. This is my heart. This is a computer. 8 months in the hospital. Heart attacks. At 5 strokes. I came out with an artificial heart. I have a pacemaker right here. At some point, I had to make a decision. What do? I felt like, okay, this was life. Not just the breath of my heart dying, but it was my whole essence just ebbing away.
I don't know how to process it. What's keeping you going?
Let's probably take a breather and come back.
No.
When I started, I wasn't looking forward to a career in film acting.
To those who have told you, and hey, you've left acting.
Yeah, they call me field actor. While we were filming Royal Destination, one of the comments Emeka Ike made was, "You look like somebody I know. Are you Nigerian?" Everybody was like, "This is the Cameroon Jim Ike," and so I fell into
the trap of you trying to be like Jim Ike.
Let me tell you the intriguing thing. Jim Ike himself hooked me from the Jim Ike effect, and I think something struck him too. He told me,
what was your introduction to movies? Also, I did a bit more research, and I realized one of your first movies was Royal Destination, 2010 or so. Talk to me about that phase. I want us to kick off from there. Talk to me about that phase and what it was like for you being introduced to the movie world of entertainment in general.
Okay, you start asking about my beginning. Because I think Royal Destination was the beginning. That was where everything started. Probably talked about this a couple of times, but I think I was fresh out of university at the time, and what I read at the university I undertook was law. But I wasn't inclined at that stage of my life to practice law for some reason. I just thought there was more to explore out there, So my first instinct when I graduated, because I had a family back in Cameroon, and all of my sisters were basically based in Cameroon at the time. That was like 28, 29. So I wanted to be the one that, I said, I've been under, and I'm the last born of a huge family of probably 9 kids. And I said, I don't want to stay in that, how there's a lot of control. I wanted to just get out of Cameroon, So I had this thing in my mind. I said, okay, I'll probably go to the US or the UK or, whatever. I wanted to travel at the time. So when I finished 2009, in my school days, I used to do a lot of hosting, what you call emceeing today.
Yeah.
It was during one of these functions that a certain producer, director, they call him Neba Lawrence, saw me. It was, and coincidentally, it was for an awards, Ace Awards at the time, run by a certain Claude Henry Dengue. Like at the time, he was a huge actor. They had come off a TV series on CRTV. That name escapes me, but I was hosting an awards organized by him, long short, and then the producers, directors saw me. Later after the show, he said, "You know what? I want to give you a shot at movies. What do you think?" And I was like, "I don't know, movies." 2010, you can imagine. There was very little. No, 2009, 2010. There was very little that I knew about movies. But I'd hosted an award, so I was like, "Okay, hey, something is happening here." And I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." So we talked a couple of times, and that's how I found myself on Royal Destination. And at the time, this is how the industry worked. Because I always say this, I was an accident child, and a very lucky accident child of the film industry. Because when I started getting recommendations, because from the project I did from Royal Destination, it went to a studio in Yaoundé, and they were doing the editing. And I think that's where Agbo Gilbert and a certain Tanwi Elvi, the daddies, saw it. To me, I was like, whoa, wow, first performance. I was under a lot of pressure. That film had Emeka Ike and Tonto Dike at the time. They were like huge African superstars in terms of Nollywood and African movies. I had a lot of pressure. I started my film career same day, almost same time with the late Otia Vitalis. We started acting on the same day, same film. So bless his soul, he passed like a week ago. So there was a lot of nostalgia when I think about him. So basically that's how I started. It was not too good an impression that I made, but for some reason Gilbert, Tanwi the Daddies, and Neba Lawrence, which I went on to have a very long relationship with him, with all of them actually, they saw something in me and they decided, let them push it. And Royal Destination was a start to a career that I really didn't, but I guess long story, it worked out at some point.
Right. At any point of the journey, did you go, let me take acting classes, let me try to maybe go learn here how to act, or what was it just you improving on every script you got?
Interestingly, nobody's ever asked me if I did take acting classes ever. Yeah. So I've not taken any formal training on acting per se, but when you start understanding scripts and you look at them like a piece of work or an art, with every script you take or read, you want to improve. So I am by nature somebody who's very meticulous. So what do is, with every project that I did, I'd cross-reference it with I always ask myself, what have I done here to make this better? What have I done to this scenario to make it much more realistic? So as the scripts kept on coming, and I'd always go back. I always find a way, like if we do a movie, one thing I ever did was I'd go back to the producer and make sure that I had to watch that movie. It's difficult watching yourself on the screen or whatever, but I make sure I watch it. As painful as it was, I'd see the errors, and then I
improve on them.
There was a point in my life where when I started, I wanted to, everybody was like, Jim Ike, this is the Cameroon Jim Ike and everything. So I fell into the trap of trying to talk like him, walk like him, dress like him, and do things like him. And then when I realized that there's something much more deeper in acting and, just interpreting characters, I decided, why don't I just assume my own personality and just bring in my own breath into characters in the way I interpret them. And that became good, maybe, but that's how I looked at acting. So my training was more on, the experience on sets, the experience, the interactions, the networking. And I made sure that if I met probably like ARREYB, Bate, what I did is we could be having a conversation and I'm just observing you, and I could play you anytime. You get like, so it's that kind of. So I think actors, like very good actors, people don't underestimate how smart they are, but you have to have a certain level of intelligence to, like really just understand. So that's how I learned. So I'd say in my career, I read about more or less 500 to 600 scripts front to back. So you can begin to understand the amount of experience that you can pick up from just reading.
You already strike me as someone who is very introspective, and I like that because I know that's how I am. I will sit down, process things, and I will go, what did I do here? How can I do it differently? How can I improve? And I would hate myself if I ever performed lesser than I thought that I would have done. I mean, I could do something, and everyone go, oh, that was such a good thing you did there. But for me, I know I could do better. And just even some of the things, I wanted to segue a bit back to something you just said, which I think it would be very interesting if you share that with the audience. When you start out, there's the tendency to, I like this person. I always say to my friends, the idea is you see what this person has done, you model it, and then you find your voice and you build from it, rather than you just copycat and go and be them. So talk to me about that trap of you saying, hey, I fell into the trap of wanting to be Jim Ike. How did that go, and what did that process teach you about yourself?
It wasn't something that I planned because, I told you when I started, I wasn't like, I wasn't looking forward to a career in film acting, be it professionally, long-term, short. I wasn't even thinking about that. So at the time, what happened is, while we were filming Rural Destination, one of the comments Emeka Ike made was, you look like somebody I know. Are you Nigerian? And I'm like, no, I'm not Nigerian. He said, do you know Jim Ike? So I said, oh, yes. Who doesn't know? And it was like, okay. I think somebody does that just that line that, so it formatted me in a way to know, for me to receive his validation, because how you worked at the time is you get validated by your peers.
Yeah,
you understand. It is we hardly had an audience where our films would go out, on a rudimentary route to the cinemas, or it was easy to just get copies of the films when they come out. So for you to get, for you to feel good or get other jobs, it was your peers that will recommend you, either a colleague that is highly valued or a producer or a director. So the trap is when they told me those words, and it was like a cheat for me. Yeah, so it was a cheat for me, and I was like, okay, for me to make this simple for you to be validated, why don't you just play along, And I played along with the Jim Ike thing, and it worked, But now, what I didn't bank on was that I didn't know that doing that was gonna cause some form of attraction to not just to the acting that I did, but to my person. So every time a discussion came up on film for auditions and stuff, and they'll probably say, hey, there's a bad boy kind of, vibe, your guy who does so let's call him in, So I started getting a little bit more jobs based on the fact that, you could equate me to. But now, let me tell you the intriguing thing. It was Jim Ike himself that hooked me from the Jim Ike effect. So we were doing a movie called Blood or Wine.
Yeah.
And I auditioned for the movie. Jim Ike was the director, co-producer of that movie. It was shot in locations in Douala, Limbe, and Boyer.
Yeah.
So I did the audition, and he heard me talk. Imagine you're doing an audition in front of somebody you've been modeling yourself as. Yeah. I think something struck him too. But when we started filming, he told me, I realized that, as co-director, co-producer of the movie, he kept adding lines. He kept telling me to push myself. He kept, like he was very interested. It looked like I was doing something that was, for some reason. And at the end of day 2 of filming, he called me I was going to change in the normal where everybody else changes. And then he called me and said, no, you come with me. I need to have a conversation with you. And he told me, you know what? When I came into Nollywood, there was Ramsey Noah, who was the lover boy. There was, how they call this other Fred, Pat Atta. He called a couple of names. He said everybody had like a niche. So I had to form myself into this bad boy kind of vibe. And I tell you this, Bate, Jim Ike is a very intelligent human being. I don't know if people know that, but when he talks, he has a way of. So he talked to me and he said, you have to find a way to. You don't want to be a Jim Ike mimic, because already the first time we met, he literally opened his mouth, and I was a gap too. Like probably my father went to, but we were not related. So when we had that conversation, it was then I realized that I could do more. And in the movie, he decided on, just as we were filming, to start really just pushing my limits. And pushing them, I could adapt to anything. And he was, he said, okay, that's it. You see, you don't have to be like this. You could be you. And I formed that in my head. And from then on, like with the way that I always approach stuff, I said, you know what, with every movie, I'm going to consciously try to get away from, and just build something that is, that will be mine. I built a tone, so that was, relatable. And, this is Epule Jeffries and this is not Jim Ike's. I built a way of under the subtext around characters.
And really interpreting the character differently.
About that, I began, and that was liberation for me. So fundamentally, the guy who was responsible for me unhooking myself was the guy who initially inspired me to. You see the jinx. So that's what happened.
That's such a cool story. I think that even just hearing how you find your voice, just hearing how you find your voice is very, very, very inspirational, I think, to anyone who is building anything, because a lot of times we get into, and it's a normal tendency, you get into a field, you try to do something, you look for somebody who's already succeeding in it, and then you want to copy them. But when the whole idea is, I always tell, so I run a mentorship club for digital marketing. Anyone wants to learn digital marketing, and I always say,
you run that?
Yeah. So I always say,
I'd be interested in digital marketing. You need to hook me up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
For real, I love. I think one of the things why when I actually rounded off the first degree. But what I was thinking, because why I didn't practice law, because deep down in me, I felt like I belonged more into communicating, selling, and stuff like that. So my initial, because my late father was a journalist, my brother is a journalist. One of my elder sisters is a journalist. So I used to admire them a lot. So and I was like, okay, if I had to do something for a living, that's why I used to do hosting, emceeing at some point, because I just, it was relatable to me. But now the world has translated itself into, if you want to sell, you don't have to go to support market and start screaming. You have to do. So I think I'd be comfortable post acting life, something in digital marketing, and see like coincidence, and that's how I got into acting, because I was hosting somebody's event, and they so, and now we're on your podcast, and you're talking about digital marketing.
Yeah,
I'll probably have a story down the line someday.
Yeah, and interestingly, so I studied journalism in Boya. So around when the crisis started, 2017, I still in my second year of the university, I went up, started just volunteering for some of the newspapers around. And then when the crisis starts, we're locked in the house. I'm thinking, okay, what do I do with these stories I used to write? And the whole idea for me is, why don't you go and publish it online? So I did, started a news website, got it to about maybe 30 to 50,000 readers per month. I think that was how I actually did make my first million, because I would used to interview people, and then the more we write it out in text and publish on the website, spoke to some of the agbobalas and all of them, build a little brand name. But in the process, we started having businesses coming to advertise on the platform. And then at some point they go, "Oh, Arrey, you're just putting a banner ads inside of your website, but there's no more details we can get from what you're doing in regards to marketing." So I'm now like, okay, if this journalism thing is not really paying me, how about, well, that was just my experience. I'm not saying it doesn't pay every other person.
Wow, yeah.
How about I transition this into learning the proper marketing? And then I just schooled myself online, learned to digital marketing. What should I do? And then I had the first client, served them, had good results, had the second client, served them, had good results. And I was like, oh, okay. When I had the first million month is digital marketing, so I'm like, okay, now what do? I just mix my journalism and marketing, and that's the main thing I do right now, actually. So that's just a bit of my story.
I think I'm in the right place for the mentorship. So
I'll never use that word.
Please do. One thing. I think one thing that we, as an actor, what I learned, for you to get better, you have to find a way to always read yourself. You get into every project like an empty vessel, like it's like a glass. So you're like a glass, and if your glass is full or half full, it can't take anything.
Yeah.
So if I approach a film project and I'm reading understudying a character, I read myself of everything save for the voice, because the only thing I give to a character is the voice. The rest, the physique, that is the the thought has to come from the character. So if that glass is full with yourself, you're adding anything into it, it spills, and you can't use it. So when I read myself of the former character and myself, I'm able to fill that glass and becomes useful. So that's how I feel like that's how I should approach, or people should approach a lot of things. You don't go and you want to learn something and you want to or get knowledge and you go there knowing already. You have to assume you don't know, so you're able to learn. So I transmit that into, I call it humility. There's a form of humility that we lack, and a lot of the younger generation in the industry lacks today, because there's a lot, they see a lot of things on social media, skits, trailers of movies, and other artists already doing well, but they do not understand that it comes with emptying yourself and assuming at least that you don't know and you want to learn. That's been part of how I operate most of the time.
Such a really good mindset. Yeah, such a good mindset. I don't think I've seen, but the thing I would say about that is, the thing I realized is, the more people I talk to, the more successful they are, the humbler they are. And it's very funny. you meet somebody who's just starting on their journey, but you can tell from the air of how they communicate or from something that they do. But it's just a funny experience. The more people I talk to, when I see someone is just really has done well for themselves, partly because if you ask me to explain it, I would say that maybe the process humbles you, and you just know that in every stage, look, the way you've gotten up there is you've been humble, you've been able to apply a lot of things, but you also have to apply empathy on how you're dealing with people. You also have to apply humility. But yes, I really like that. And that actually leads me to, we started talking, I was just getting to my next question. I wanted to ask you about, when you hear Will Smith talk, there's when he was doing Emancipation, he said at some point he had to sometimes just go into the forest just to get into character. When he's doing King Richard, he says at some point I have to visit Venus, Serena Williams, just try to get into character and ask them questions. What was your dad like? What are some of the experiences? And he says we had to spend days, and that was this process for him to get into character. And I'm wondering, for you, when you take a script and you say, okay, Jeffrey, here's what you're supposed to play.
Before you continue to watch the rest of this episode, here's what I want you to say.
If I am to rate Smart Club, I'm going to rate it a 9.5 on 10. I'm only taking that 0.5 because perfection leaves no room for development.
He's known for his expertise and innovative problem-solving skills.
Arrey is so practical at what he does.
Hello, this is Flora from the Smart Club.
I joined the Smart Club because I wanted to acquire more skills.
I wanted to acquire more knowledge and skills.
The Smart Club gives you an opportunity to have a one-on-one talk with ARREYB.
It is very innovative.
I have an agile way of thinking now.
We learned a lot, becoming T-shaped, content creation.
These are friends who joined the Smart Club and have been building the skills with us for the last couple of years. Maybe you're asking yourself right now, Arrey, what's Smart Club all about? The Smart Club is my private mentorship club that I built for friends who want to master a high-income digital marketing skill. Whether your goal is to build your personal brand, become a freelancer, or you want to get a job in digital marketing, the Smart Club is the right place for you. Registration has officially opened for the next batch of students. If this sounds like something that you'll be interested in, please don't hesitate to check out the link in the description and join us and build your digital marketing skill.
What does that process look like for you in starting to interpret that character?
First of all, Will Smith is a very high bar. Top 3 of my inspirations in acting, matter of fact, of all time: Denzel Washington, Will Smith, and Ramsey Noah. I'll put in a 4th. He's Cameroonian, Anuri Nwonembo.
Okay. Anuri.
These are monsters. Like I mentioned to you, it takes a lot of intellectual capacity to do all of that. So you have to be really smart. So to me, the process is probably like Will Smith's. The only difference is how he approaches it in understanding it, because they have the means. So he could afford to go to the forest when he has a script, take a couple of months just to prepare for a character. But we did not have that luxury. I did not have that luxury. So you have to shoot film. You get a script you have a script today. By the 27th, you're filming. So you probably have 7 days to understand and be performant. If you're a very critical person of yourself, you want to do better than the last one. So probably you have 7 days. So what I did was I relied a lot on personal experiences, people I met. So when I had a script, I'd look at the character and I'd be like, is there somebody that I'd ever met that was like this, or I'd watched or I'd read about that was like this? And and I start playing that in my head, and what would be his reaction to this? And already that at that point I'm taking myself away from the equation, so that's no longer Epule Jeffrey. At that point, it's that the guy and probably who I'm trying to allude this personality to. So that's how I understood it. We did not have the means to get a script and then you say you're going to shoot in 3 months or 5 months. And it was always really, really rush. But later on, I began to get the privilege to choose, because I received a ton of scripts.
Okay.
And we do it for a small, you had a name, so you could do a mini interview with the producer. What do you want? What am I going to be doing? Who am I working with? And and you just, you lean towards a particular project, and from then already you're already building something in your mind. And that was how, I think that's how a large part of us in Cameroon do it. But when I began to go to Nigeria, and Nigerians coming and other foreigners coming, went to London to do movies, I realized that it was a whole different ball game. You have to go through the process. They wouldn't just give it to you. So yes, but the luck that I have, I always call it luck, is that I always had a training. So you've done 40 movies, you must have learned how to just really quickly get into something like that. So I would use all of that experience. I was with somebody yesterday, and like, we're very close, and we're talking about a movie, and then the producer of the same film was there, and he mentioned that Jeffrey was the one who played this character. And she was like, no, where, in which film? The film? Yeah, he said, that character you watched, that was Jeffrey. And she turned and looked at me, and she was like, are you for real? I said, yeah, but so I pulled out my phone and I showed her the trailer. I said, look again. She'd watched the film twice, but she couldn't recognize me.
Oh shit! That was good work.
So that's how basically the movie is Virgin Blade, by the way. Go check it out. The trailer is on YouTube, and I think we're talking with the producers, probably going to drop on YouTube sometime. Everybody's rushing to YouTube these days. Okay. So I think that's how I began. Like, I always approached, like, I'd want to, and I grew up in the neighborhood. I grew up in Boyer, and then when you're traveling a lot, you meet a lot of people. I'm just sitting there, probably sharing a drink with you, but I'm picking something out of, and so I built a gallery. Like, there's a gallery that I kept somewhere, and every time I had the script, I'd unlock it. And I asked myself, in this situation, what would Denzel do? What would Will Smith do? What would Arrey do? What would Ramsey do? What would Jim Ike do? What would Bate do? And then I put all of that, and then I try to make it as realistic as possible. So simple thing. Sometimes when I meet young actors and they ask me, how do you do this? What is it, the simplest way to just act? And I tell them, less is more. So for example, if you lose your mother or your father, there's no two ways that you're gonna cry. You're gonna cry like the way you cry. You're not just gonna be the things. So you want to tone it, make it believable, and then ask yourself, if it was a real life situation, what would I expect to see? If I were living in this thing right now, would my crying or my laughter be exaggerated? Would it be, so emotional intelligence, emotional temperature, intellectual dosage, all of that work into how I used to build a character. So when I have these conversations with upcoming actors, that's how I put them in that perspective. So for some it works, but like I said, to be able to receive this, you must be able to read yourself of other things. Some read themselves, some don't, and that's the process.
That's such a short masterclass. Yeah.
I'll take you on a masterclass in acting. You take me on a masterclass in digital marketing.
I'm down for it. A part of your story, I want us to talk a bit about some of the challenges. I know that you could go on and on about this because there's a lot about it. But let's kickstart where you talked about at some point in your journey, you had a serious cardiovascular injury. I don't know if I should call it disease or what. And you said at the time you had gone for over 8 surgeries in the last couple of years. Talk to me about some of those health challenges and how that played in your journey. I know there's a lot you can share, but just take it. Yeah.
I'm very passionate about men's cardiovascular health right now, because there are a lot of underlying things, especially from the African Cameroonian community in terms of health, that we do not understand. Because when I became symptomatic in 2016, I just assumed that probably it was overwork, movies, sleep. Because the days you go 2-3 days without really sleep, with 4 hours of sleep. So I assumed that, oh, I was getting tired, fatigued because of that, and it was a hectic life. You do a movie, it comes out after a couple of, you have to go to the premiere, you're in this town. So, okay, the movement. And I said, okay, probably I'm just stressed. Short of breath, things I could do easily became much more difficult, climbing stairs, going to the gym. So at some point, yeah, okay. I passed out on the set, Samba. I think I passed out. Yes, I was in the bathroom and then I felt lightheaded and then that was it. Fortunately, I didn't hit my head on the sink or anywhere. So I got rushed to the hospital and that's when I got, they couldn't diagnose it immediately there. They did the first aid and everything and then they recommended I go to Shishong because they suspected that. I went to Shishong and then I got a diagnosis. I was suffering from a dilated cardiomyopathy. Long shot, my heart had grown bigger by about 18 centimeters. So it was really big. That was a difficult period because life changes. I could no longer be the Epule Jeffrey, the energetic one. But people would not notice because, like I said, interpreting characters sometimes is not just about the physical, it's more of, So I dealt with that from 2016 till when I decided to just, let it go. That's about 2021. During this period, there were years that I go 6 months in the hospital. I remember 2020, I spent 8 months in the hospital. You don't want to know. And when I got out, I felt better, and then I picked up. I said, let me try again. One thing I managed to do was I didn't get sidetracked by social media, so I was not like every time you see me. Not maybe unlike now, I'm much more open to it because I'm in the rest seat now a lot. So I got back in, tried a couple of movies, and then I realized this is not working. The same energy I had wasn't there, the same verve, the same, and I went back to the hospital. The diagnosis wasn't good. Then coronavirus came in, COVID came in. And for people with cardiovascular diseases, you're like high risk. Cameroon wasn't offering me the kind of health choices that I needed. So at some point, I had to make a decision, leaving everything and trying to stay healthy so that I could leave and have a shot at life again. And it was a difficult decision for me to make because, it was I started acting movies 2010. It was the only thing I'd been doing to survive all through. What do? I felt like, okay, this was life, not just the breath of my heart dying, but it was my whole essence just ebbing away. So I had to make that radical decision and, get away from movies. And here I am. So down the line, 8 surgeries. I had a major heart operation, open heart operation on December 4th. Took me 4 days to come out of that. I was coma for 4 days. But before then, I'll tell you something. While they were doing some Frenchman would say inopportune, like a scan that was not just routine, they discovered I had 5 strokes in 4 years ago. 5 strokes.
Hey.
For somebody in his mid-30s. And they were like, how did you survive this? I said, I didn't know. I'd never put myself to be sick. To me, I wasn't sick. I just had that strength of mind. So December 4th, I had this surgery. Took me 4 days to come out. I came out with an artificial heart. I carry my heart in the back, right here. This is my heart. This is a computer. So there's a wire. This wire you see here, it's in my tummy. The bulge in my tummy. So the heart, the pump is here. So for about 6 months now, I've been living with an artificial heart.
I don't get it.
Yeah, scoop on ARREYB. That's it. So how is this important? Is because it was so silent. You could be, especially for men, you could think you're active and probably you're drinking or smoking and it affects the kidneys. Your blood pressure spikes. It just takes for the kidneys to not work for a couple of hours, and there's a lot about sensitizing on heart health and cardiovascular health for men, about diabetes, about how it could blood sugar, about how sugar just works in your body, about how stress works in a man's body. And for a typical Cameroonian male, we stress a lot. It's hard. You've been there, it's tough just surviving. And all those things are layers, and you get, and you don't know. So sometimes you see men fall down. You see a lot of young men are not living after 50 because they have underlying cardiovascular trouble that just emerges one time and bam, you're gone. Heart attacks twice, about 5 strokes. I live on an artificial heart, but all that could have been evaded if I just been keen and went for a checkup regularly and all that. So I think that's for me the next part of my life, God willing, is to create that awareness amongst Black male, especially African and Cameroonian Black male, where I come from, males where I come from, to pay attention to the signs, because it could happen to anyone. I'm lucky to be here, but not everybody's going to be lucky like that.
I think you're way more mentally. Jeez. And just what you shared, I think that I process. I don't know how to process it. What's keeping you going?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a very God-fearing person. One, I see good in every situation. I don't see negative. But as a human being, I react to situations sometimes. But bottom line is, I always want to see something good come out of something. So I guess at some point in my life, when I had these challenges, the universe had wanted to make a message, and they said, probably that's how I think, you've been doing some stuff that works for you, and you still have to be here. So what keeps me going is the situations that I meet every day. I try to give back. I try to be respectful. I try to share. I find happiness in everything. I have 2 kids. I want them to have a father. I grew up around a lot of trauma. I lost my mother when I was very young. My father died in my arms, 2019. So I have a lot of this experience. My elder brother, Papa K, that's why they call me Papa K. Where's that tattoo? Right here. My brother, after my mother died, I went to Yaoundé, stayed with him. He too died. Heart attack. That's what they said. So those things, a lot motivates me. And fortunately, I had film. So I used it as a vehicle to just express, become expressive, say the things I couldn't say, act the way So I have a lot of dreams. I have a lot of hope. I did not look at life like this is the end today. If I get into the hospital, last year I was in the hospital from September and I got out on New Year's Day. That's having 5 months in the hospital, in the ICU, pipes and everything. I never thought about death. So because to me, living is just understanding that you're alive. So if you ask me again, what really keeps me going? It's just there's a lot. I can't really pinpoint the exact thing, but I just stay focused like that.
Wow.
You good?
Yeah.
You good?
Just didn't expect this to go this way. Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. A lot of people. Like I said, I told you I went out yesterday, and I had because I live on batteries. Like this pack has batteries because it's so powerful. The pump has to work 24/7, so you can't power it with like a nuclear battery. I have a pacemaker right here. The pacemaker, which didn't work, of course, but it's there handy just in case my heart goes into shock. It will shock it and bring it back. Actually did that once. That's another story for another day. So I move along with batteries, and in the night, I have to take off the batteries and get to charge power, to wall power, like a phone. So basically, that's how I live. I live like a phone. In the night, I take off the batteries, connect my computer to wall power, and it's in the morning when I wake up, like I have to come to your show, I get to battery power, like a phone. So that's how I live. So it could be challenging for somebody who's not ready psychologically for a lot of things, but that's why I say I never really look at life like this is going to end now. Even if it ends now, I feel like, okay, I was meaningful to me. That's living. I impacted somebody. There's somebody out there somewhere who thinks good about me, and that's it. It's good.
Yeah. In all this, what to the people who watch you, and to the people who, some of them have never had such a story, and even to think that all of this is happening, you have so much mental strength, so much energy, so much joy, and that's just unheard of. But to the people who watch you, who have seen you on screen, what positive support would you expect from them at this point? Is there something you want them to know? Is there something, some attitude you want them to have? And even to those who have trolled you, and hey, you've left acting, you've just...
Yeah, they call me field actor. Yeah, sometimes I read some comments, some people, but I don't, what my expectations are not, I don't, for me, I'll be honest with you. I have received more than I have given. Just being here means that there must have been something I was doing good. Because there was one guy once, I think that was 2020, said Epule Jeffrey's dead. Fortunately, it didn't go around much. But what happened on that day, someday in July, was I lost pulse for about 2 hours, but I wasn't brain dead.
Okay.
So I think somebody in the hospital sent an SMS to somebody, and then fortunately I did come around. Sometime in 2019, after my father passed, I had another episode, and then a certain doctor, I don't want to call the name, I don't want to call the hospital's name in Boyer, said, called my sister and told her, you know what, you have to go make arrangements for your brother. If 10 days is good, he can't go beyond 10 days, he's done. It was 2019, we're 2024. So
5 years later. So
basically, I think what I want is already been given to me. The bonus in life, the gift of just being here today, talking to people, talking to you, being able to hold my phone, make calls, talk to loved ones, and I'm not the one who's going to change the world. I'm just going to fit into the world. So whatever works for anybody works. I'm not in the business of trying to control stuff, and so I live like one day at a time. So yeah. Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
This is just going where I didn't expect it to go, and
let's probably take a breather and come back.
No, I'm just.
Well, like you wouldn't know, right? If I don't tell, like. So I take pictures sometimes with a bag, and they're like, "Hey, guy, yeah, I new, bro." So I carry this. It's about 4 kgs. Every day, strap it on my shoulder every day. I go with it, man. It's tough. So, So what do I want? I have everything I want. I'm alive, so I don't. So just that alone every day, it's a challenge. Being able to wake up and just it's not just a challenge per se. It's even it's a gift. It's a blessing. I do not take the things I used to take for granted. I don't take them anymore. The ones I used to treasure so much, I'm like, okay, I'll try not to deal with them. I just approach stuff differently. I think that's the way. When I get young upcoming actors inbox and they ask me what should I do, I say look at the things that are meaningful to you. Go to everywhere you sit. Everybody is a potential producer. You're an audition on a daily, lively basis. Every hour you're somewhere sitting, somebody's watching you. So it's like you're auditioning for the world, and that's supposed to be you. what would you do if you were trying to act up to somebody, or somebody see you as an actor? So put yourself always in that position so that you get the recommendation. And I think that's how God sees us. We're on a constant audition. He wants to test you. He wants to be like, okay, can you do this? And then you do it. And then he'll judge you on that. So I told them, treat life like an audition every time, and you see how much good it comes from it.
Right. Isn't it just interesting how you see life and how some of us see life differently? Because I know sometimes you have an issue and you're thinking, I'm just having it worse. Like, this is so bad. I don't know if I'll get back from it. And then sometimes you just listening to you talk, I'm like, maybe God, I've just not been having problems. But yet the kind of positivity that you bring out, I'm like, okay, God, now I'm sorry for every time I complained. Because look at how much positive energy you're bringing out. And then maybe I wanted to complain about the one time where things did not go my way.
I didn't want to do you like that, bro. Sorry.
No. I mean, I get it. It's just it's a realization. It's just we need to have
Yeah.
The small thankfulness we need to have, the small, and just that positivity. Well, let's circle a bit back. A while back, you made mention, and there's something very interesting you said on the live, which I wanted us to touch a bit. You talked about when Carol had the success with her new movie on YouTube, and you talked about a lot of people will see it right now and go, oh, let me also go and create a YouTube channel and start to put my own movies so that I'm also going to have success like Carol is doing. And one of the things you said is, preferably, how about rallying behind the force that's already working? Talk to me about that. And when you're saying that, what are you processing, and how do you think that's going to work well for the industry?
So I'll start with how possible it is, then we'll go to how it might not even work.
Right.
So these are the possibilities. So you take you're into digital marketing, and you know that everything, basically, literally everything, not everything, but literally everything now could be sold anywhere, anytime, based on its availability online. And the only way to get traction is by something that is continuously in your face, popularized or influenced by something that is you can relate to. So you have these figures right now, fortunately, in the industry who are very relatable. Caro, Godis, Koi Longe, Ice Kid Charisma, how they call it, Senior Pastor, a lot of them.
Yeah, Danny Gray, all of them.
So all of those, they have a heavy traffic, heavy following, and when they drop something, easily, they have built almost a cult-like followership, because there's a lot of joy around them, So the problem with our movies is we did not have that followership and that audience. We just used to pour up movies, hoping that we'll throw everything on the wall and something would stick. So probably Nigeria is going to acquire it, or DSTV, and then Netflix came, Amazon, and all of those are a little bit lofty, because the rudimentary canal for you to probably get your movie on some particular platform is for you to be able to say, this movie, if I put it here, I'm going to get this amount of views. That's how Netflix would want to take a movie. That's same thing for Amazon, same thing for DSTV, same things for Film One distributor in Nigeria. So we did not have the kind of presence, for Cameroonians to, just get attracted or glued to our films. And that's why I say we must be humble enough to go through the process and meet some of these people who have who have been blessed to have this followership. It is not it doesn't make you less or anything, So with the Caro thing is, so imagine Caro has 50,000 views and probably 7,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers to her channel. What happens is, if ARREYB produces a movie, what he has to do is, part of his promo plan should be probably with Caro, not necessarily putting her in the movie. One of the ways he can do it is, okay, Caro, can I have the possibility of dropping a teaser of my movie on your channel, for, or incorporate it in one of your before, the coming soon or something, and that already has eyes on it, So I was thinking in that light of, just placing more eyes on the projects that we do. through people who have the platform that makes it
Oh, yeah.
visible. So you have people
Rather than
like,
us building 20 different platforms and dividing the audience.
but with the ego. Now, why it wouldn't work is the ego with the allegory of the glass, where it's full and they don't want to take out anything, so they keep pouring. Multiplicity of YouTube channels is just spillover. So too many, the eyes are not there. But if we read ourselves and focus on one, we pour it in. We consume more. I think that's the way. That's how I want it, and that's how I look at it. To me, these are opportunities. They are relatable opportunities. You have these platforms. Go there, lobby with them. Get your products on them. Consider film as a product. Get your teasers, your trailers on these platforms. Talk to Carol. Talk to Goddies. Talk to Elongish. Talk to senior. Talk to these people that have the fire, the moment. It doesn't take, and then you realize that we create more eyes on the thing, and then once you have eyes on the business, the quality definitely will change or up, because us, we're very critical, and it's just going to be improvement. So we have to start from ridding ourselves of that ego and that, like everybody can do his own, number. That's why I really love what Carrie did, because in all her communication, she doesn't polarize anybody. She didn't come in and say, okay, I did it first, everybody wants to belong to the project because they are on an equal plane, because she rid herself of everything so that she could welcome everybody. And I think if we're going with that kind of mindset, it's some form of a marketing strategy that is not palpable, but is very effective.
Right. I definitely have to go and watch that movie. I think I was planning to watch it this weekend, so I'll try to make time to do that.
It's not long, it's 30 minutes. So you see how strategic she was. What she did is, she did a 30 minutes movie. Basically, because when I talked to her, she said, asked her if she wanted the movie to be longer. She said she wanted to make it longer, but she assumed that maybe the attention span, and that's one thing we have to start considering. Everything now is in a smartphone or in the TV, basically smartphone. So our attention spans as humans has really shortened, So you put some very long stuff, especially stories that have been told over and over and over and over, with the financial challenges we face, with the data challenges we face, with the unrest in the northwest southwest zones. Nobody wants to spend 1 hour 40 minutes of his time watching your movie. Movie now is not even a luxury. It's not a priority. So the shorter the better. So that's Carol. She thought smart, and she said, I'll go for 30 minutes. I'll risk it. And filmmakers, veritable filmmakers, will go sit back and say, she did 30 minutes. It's kind of film that these people, they don't know. They call them feature film. No. What we should do is, things are changing. Trends are changing. Adapt. So we have to adapt to those things. And once we start canalizing the audience into a particular route, then you can begin to expand your attention span. But for now, we can't afford that. That's why I say use the career route. Maybe you're uncomfortable with it, but if you're thinking business,
it's working. Yeah. I'm curious, are there any other trends you see in the movie industry that you think that for those who are getting into acting right now, you should be aware of? As an OG, you probably have seen. And again, from your first movie from 2010, 2014, 2016, 2019, and now you've basically watched all of this evolved. What other trends would you say that actors or even entertainers in general should start watching out for?
Interesting. The rise of skits, right? Let's take one aspect. Skits. So skits are very relatable now. At the CAMIF, there's a category now for skits, content creators. So for basically very short content,
Yeah.
So upcoming actors should take advantage of that as a form of branding and making themselves, that's, if you look at what Carol did. So she tried doing movie, but she was overshadowed by very big figures, but she wanted her voice out there. She wanted to be seen. So she undercut and used Carol. She knew that Ben Lillian was going to struggle. So she used Carol, built something around her, and okay. So skits is one way that upcoming actors should, I'd recommend they do. But as usual, the downside is the saturation or the spillover. Everybody want to do skits and all that. So, and then the multiplicity, you cannot guarantee the quality. The other thing I'd say about what upcomers should do, or actors or the film industry in general should do, is make cross collaboration within the diverse departments of the entertainment industry, fashion, music, and cuisine. So what happens is, my big brother Alain Mengen has a restaurant. One of the ways to push it is to probably do a shot on his restaurant, not necessarily with him, but with other, maybe local, eating at Ni's restaurant, and it's a skit. Eyes on the skit, field bill at, no other than just taking pictures and all that. There are other ways to just find ways to put a lot of eyes into the business, that and I think producers, filmmakers should start really getting out of that mindset of feeling that they understand the trends, because everything now is intertwined. The beauty of cinema is because it encompasses all the structures of entertainment. So when you put them, it becomes cinema, but you can use them independently to draw attention to projects. So more collaboration between musicians, between Cameroonian fashion, between Cameroonian cuisine, making them, just putting a lot of things in the eyes of Cameroonians with relatable characters. And as such, because that's what we tried with Nigeria. What we did was, we had the Jim Ike come over, the Tonto DKs, the Dakores, the Olu Jacobs, to come into Ramsey to take advantage of the eyes on them. So if you get a project that has these people and is showing in Nigeria, automatically you're probably going to see Damo Damaris, or you're going to see Onyama Laura, you're going to see Siofar, and then you're going to be like, okay, who is this person? And now, since the world has become one big portal, you don't have to, you just have to click on it and you find more about Onyama or Siofar or Mavis Ann. And it's easy to sell characters like that and get a bigger audience. So my advice will not only go to actors or upcoming actors. My advice will go to upcoming producers, people who want to do things differently, should look at the trends and just, readapt. It might sound like a lot of work, but when you have figured it out, I think it's going to be easy.
Yeah, and I think generally the whole idea is to start.
Yes.
Even for us in marketing. So if I think about it, and every industry has been hit. So remember back then, let's say 2014, when people sent out job descriptions, hey, we're looking for this person to come and work here, secretary. What would they say? Microsoft Word experience. Now it's no longer Microsoft Word. People are asking, oh, do you have this? And it's growing further. Sometimes they were like, oh, you need to know how to experience using Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, all of those little things. Yeah. Then later on, it evolves to maybe experience in managing social media. Later on, it evolves to experience in at least writing, knowing how to do this copywriting. Then it's evolving. And then even at some point, they're selling jobs right now that if you have a personal brand, it helps you to get into it easily. And so you realize that even the job market evolves. And even for us, marketing, it evolved. Before then, think about it, when we were growing up and they had to pass a message across the village. What happens? The town crier, gong, 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 meeting 4 p.m. And everybody's going around. They gather by 4 p.m. Today, village chiefs have WhatsApp. We have to send messages.
Those are the trends. Those are the trends. We have to adapt. We have to readapt a lot of stuff especially in the film sector, which I hold so dear. And I feel like there's it's not an issue of finances, because when you ask people, they'll tell you there's no return on investment, but it's sincerely because we've not put in the structure. And the one thing, when you ask people about structure, they want to see something feasible. So they want to be able to say, oh, this is a cinema hall, this is where film but the mindset, we have to be able to understand that there are canals that are probably not feasible, but they work. Everything now is basically digital. We could take advantage of it, and we're not taking advantage of it. And that's why I'm very interested in digital marketing, because I want to be able to jump on the new dynamics of what could be the possibilities of opening up palpable, in quotes, channels for our work to be seen, new ways for people to come in, I think that's the route. It will be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I think, yeah, when it comes to digital marketing, I think I know a thing or two, and that's why I teach at the Smart Club. And yeah, happy to share a lot more about that. From the way you talk, would you say you are a fan of the 80/20 campaign? What would be your thoughts on that?
Let me put this very clearly. It's not a sensitive subject, but it's something that needs to be explained.
But I think the personality behind it is sensitive. So this is a good message.
That's the problem. I am in love, always been in love. Everybody that has contributed to this film industry, like the way I've done, even the way I've not done, maybe smaller or bigger, did it because of the concept behind 80/20.
Right.
So 80/20 is the name of what everybody else has been doing. Can you take away the voice, the effect, the man behind the concept, the name of the concept? No, that would be disingenuous, to be dishonest, because he has, I think Cameroonians needed the shock value. They needed that wake-up call, that radical opposition, because what interests Cameroonians or Anglophone Cameroonians is, if you want eyes on something, create a controversy, start insulting people, and then you have eyes on it. So you cannot take away his voice, because he understood the psychology. And I think that's where I say my big brother is very smart. He's an extremely smart human being because he understood it. Initially, I was in a position where I was extremely bitter with him. And I'll be like, guy, why are you always bringing people down? And then I realized, okay, hey,
that's his strategy.
If he doesn't do that, these people don't care. And I think that's what he probably tried to explain to some of us, and we didn't get. We didn't get it because we were drowned by the way the tone of it, him always bashing and all that. But when I realized that, okay, this is working, and bash me for all I care, and let's just have the eyes on it. If controversy sells, please go right ahead. Right. So 80/20 for me, the concept, it's a marvelous concept.
Okay.
Initially, I was very distasteful of his how he was being pushed by my elder brother. But as I began to understand how the mindset of Anglophone Cameroonians, and I said, okay, this is what these people want. This guy knew something we didn't know. I'm no longer bitter at him. Do I like the way he does it? No. Do I like how he's going? Yes. That's my thought on 80/20. And I think sincerely, anybody who loves entertainment business, the brand Cameroon Beat in any from fashion, politics, community building, whatever, if you're Cameroon oriented, you are already an 80/20 proponent. Just that we needed that push, that awakening. I don't know why we needed to be reminded about the consciousness of supporting Cameroon, like listening to our music, watching our films, wearing our clothes. I don't know where we lost that, and we needed that forceful reminder. But as long as he's doing it and he's having effects, because honestly, let me tell you, and let me be clear, you cannot say there are some people who've not been woken by the way he handled it. I give him his credit every time. I give him his credit every time, any day, anytime. The way he was, I realized, was the only way Cameroonians would jump on the things. There are some people who get vexed by it because we assumed that, we didn't have to go so low to be reminded. So I think the initial anger is gone, and I'll give his place. If it's for the 80/20, I'm a huge fan of it. Everything support your own, a great fan. Matter of fact, I'm like 95/5.
Okay. Let's say you had the opportunity to whisper something in CY's ears right now about how to go about the campaign and what to tweak so that this ends up fighting a good cause in the right way, in the right direction. What would you whisper in his ears?
Well, first of all, he wouldn't listen, but I'll still try to whisper. So this is what I want my elder brother to do. Let it be encompassing. There are a lot of people that have been hurt in the process. A lot of major stakeholders that feel like, okay, the bashing, trying to compare this to that has divided more than rallied people together. Look at the success of Caro. Let's use that as an example. The reason for her success is because she doesn't polarize anybody. You realize that people who believe in 80/20 are for her. People who do not believe in CY's 80/20 are still giving her the support. So you try to mix them up, and you try to the bottom line is you see that there is a synergy somewhere. So my advice to my dear big brother is tone down the rhetoric. You've already got the audience. People understand your power. Now it's time for rallying and unity to make it bigger and better. But knowing who my big brother is, he has a massive ego. That might not happen anytime soon. That's why at some point I mentioned that, and I think that's where we had a real divergence in opinions, was when I said I'd rather somebody else at the time, because I still feel like he should. Right now, he's very good for it. At the time when I thought we needed somebody that was much more rational, somebody who was less, I said, okay, since you're good with Deli Singer, why not let Deli Singer just be like the main voice of it? And and he didn't take that well, But imagine for a moment if Deli Singer was a proponent of 80-20. The smoothness, Deli Singer would insult the shit out of, sorry for cursing, out of you, and you wouldn't even know, because she's really smart. So I think she would have created a better shock effect than my elder brother. And that's the only advice I could give him, that at this point it's working, but it needs to go bigger than his personality, his ego. The only thing in the way now is his attitude, his personality, his ego. Everything else is good.
So we're already long deep into it. A couple of questions. I want to ask you the last question, and then I'll ask you some quick questions. Just
no problem.
There's something you talked about. It reminds me of you talked about something in an interview, and you said Cameroonians. Example, you gave the example, you said someone will look at Mr. Leo, he sings very well, and they'll say to themselves, I sing like that, I've just not got the opportunity. Why did you make that statement?
Because we tend to put down on the, what's the right word I want to use here? I should be careful about the word I want to use.
Like that.
I don't want to use underestimate, undervalue. Art. To us, it looks easy, and because it looks easy, it can be you that would be making something out of it. So why did I use the case of Mr. Liu? Mr. Liu grew up in Boya, Great Support, around Street 8 up there somewhere. So I knew him when he was, we used to, Boya was trekking at the time. We'll come meet in Moliko every time. So I made me say, oh, Petit, hey, when I heard he go better, I'm like, Perika, man, what is going on?
Yeah,
this is huge, but not everybody puts himself in my perspective. So I realized that Cameroonians will not give it to you like that, because they feel like because you did it was easy, and because Mr. Liu grew up in support and they saw him, he's not special.
Right.
And since it's not special means, so if Mr. Liu feels he's special, I probably am more special than Mr. Liu, or something like that. That's why I made that statement that, our celebrities, the status where they are right now, if Mr. Liu is not receiving following or is not, grossing as much as he wants to, is because we've decided to put him where he we think he is. So let's go back to the message around 80-20. If they're accepting the message around 80-20, its rhetoric, its toxicity and all that, it's because it's a reflection of their deep feelings. So when you say, hey, Jeffrey, Naraka, Chris actor, Mr. Lodi singing now with himself, it's a reflection deep down of how they think about you. You understand? And they're just agreeing with them. So somebody who is following Mr. Leo's songs likes his creativity, likes the way he sings. It's not really dishonest about how he feels. I love this guy. Even if I saw him walking with these shots and support or used to come from this, I just like his work. And now the other people who don't want to connect, it's not because his craft is not good. It's because Nigerian will use this, they don't see finish. They don't see finish. Tisi Panchak, none of that Kumba boy.
Yeah.
What good can come from Stanley? Stanley Massa, Jovina Ambanga man for Yaoundé, So Cameroonians, we have a tendency of just, we are a reflection. Every celebrity, everybody that's doing it, their followership is a reflection. The insults they receive, the following, the love they receive is a reflection of our thought process. That's why we cannot cross. There's a certain limit we can't cross because we always find a way to drag ourselves back. Because
what do you think we should do differently?
which tone down the rhetoric, expose more of understanding, valuing craft. Cameroonians, because of that, that's why I agree with Cyprian, because he reignited that discussion around the Cameroonian art, music, film, or whatever. He reignited the discussion, and people realized that, oh my, there's Asaba. Hey, look at Onyama Laura Stephanie too. Where I don't even know someone get film industry. They still say it today, but he ignited that discussion, and people are more eyes on it. So now that we have the attention, what we should do differently is start making sure that we start putting out what would keep the attention. Consistency, sustainability,
body of work,
and every other thing that we just we have to try that at least for once. Just be positive, and I hope that it leads us to somewhere. I think that's what we need to do differently. Go back to the drawing board. Cameroonians are, at the event I was at yesterday, for a long while they were playing Nigerian and South African music. And then when the women wanted to walk in with their traditional, they did the whole rest of the evening in Yangi.
Oh.
So they did not need a reminder for 80-20. Consciously, they knew that, okay, we are Cameroonians, this is where we come from. But now, what should be done is for us to be able to put this in the eyes of people and say, okay, when I don't notice we now, but this is what we have. It's as good as every other thing. But if we fall into the trap of pushing mediocrity, as it might be, because like you mentioned, everybody wants to do their thing now, hoping that it will work. But we have to have a certain form of control so that we do not lose the momentum that is in this moment, so that the quality just keeps getting better and we finally get that attention, hopefully permanently.
A lot to process, a lot to take in. I like where the conversation is going. Okay, quick one. Top 3 movies of all time from Cameroon.
Top 3 movies of all time from Cameroon. My personal. Okay, Nina's Diary, number 1.
Okay.
Number 1. Number 2, Virgin Blade.
Virgin Blade. Okay. Yeah.
Good one. It's a TV series, Samba.
Yeah. Samba. What year was that? Was that
2015?
2015. Okay. I mean, we grew up kind of hearing about EP and Samba. Okay. Top 5 Cameroonian songs.
Oh, my number 1.
Stanley.
Stanley. Second will be Me Have Been Down for Quiet. How they love. Second will be Jovi. My third Cameroonian song of all time will be Dikomila Moto, Shalom Bango. Dikomila Mina Moto Nai. My fourth will be Toto Guillaume, Françoise. Bobo Nema Puli Tambai. Ausa Sengayo. Nema Pula Nesango. Françoise, you don't know Françoise?
Oh my God.
Toto Guillaume Tugi will be my fourth. And I'll shock you, my fifth will be Petit Pays Metro.
Oh.
My spirit is a little old, young, and
Yeah. Why do I feel like you're going that way?
You might want to ask me probably the categories, new urban, the generations.
Yeah, I want to see you're dodging at new people. Songs released after.
No, I'm not dodging them. But I think I listen to. There's this summer jam that is like my summer jam now. Wayo by Techno. I not go do you Wayo. It's all I got. It's the bass line, and it's a sample of Prince Nickelback, Sweet Mother. I recommend you to go listen to it.
Interesting.
It's a smash.
Do you know I play the bass guitar and I play piano?
Oh, you do? Oh. And the bass on that song is crazy. That dum dum dum.
I'm checking it out straight.
Okay. And if you listen to most of these songs, you listen to Metro. You listen to Togi. You listen to Hepe. for me, it's so I think those are songs, those are classics because they have an old spirit, and everything just stems from them. The rhythm, the Afro beat we're talking about today is the rhythm guitar of it is probably Makossa, but we've not really experimented. The people like Techno who give hits for Eve and all that took rudimentarily those songs, those samples from Makossa. So as an old spirit that I am, I tend to lean more on those things. And we have a couple of urban artists, the new generation, who kick into these things. And once they channel themselves into that old spirit, that's when I really vibe with them. So you have people like Phil Bill, you have people like Loco, you have people like TZ, Kosi, that once in a while tap into this old, they hit that old nerve, and they have some songs, but the nostalgia of these sweet ones just, I can't help it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, no harm in enjoying both. Yeah.
I do. I'm a huge fan of Kosi. I'm a huge fan of TZ Panchak. I'm a huge fan of Alicia K. Oh, Asaba. And my man, Blaze B. What? I love these people.
I would argue, I would say that Blaze B is, I would think he is the best vocalist Cameroon. I would argue.
Underrated, yeah?
Yeah, the best vocalist Cameroon has. I would argue that.
He came to Toronto, I think, late last year, and he had this show. This guy decides to come into the show blind. So the stage is lit, just one light, and there's a voice just ricocheting throughout the hall. It's proper silence. And then you have this banging voice just singing there, and everybody's, where is this coming from? And this small man walks onto the heavenly, bro. Blaze B, bro.
Powerful. Vocal.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Wow.
Did I forget Mr. Leo? But all of these people are very old spirits. I think they might have the same musical tonality that I have. The thing is, they just take it and, reinvent it and put it in new ways. But the bottom line is, if you ask them, they'll probably have the same bases. This, like the Tugis, the Shalom Bangos, the PTPs, they'll tell you honestly that that's where they come from, So if you ask me about modern urban, I'll give you, but rudimentarily, that's where my spirit lies.
Yeah, and I think we should be happy that they're taking away from these ancestors.
Yes.
And trying to recreate them so that we are not losing our flow, because the tendency is that as generations age, which is something that sometimes I'm very much afraid of, as generations age, they will tend to lose that originality, the sounds. Amapiano is coming, Afrobeat is coming with its own way, and you'll find artists trying to go around and copy what's the trending sound. I
listened to Lopez Oboso yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? And I was like, okay, this is a marvelous song. But you know what? We will not vibe to it. This Amapiano, we're locked into. But I don't know. Hopefully, the vibe to it. But I think fundamentally we have to go back to exploiting the massive array of music history that we have, from the Bendica's repertoires to the Kotobasi's repertoires. There's a lot we can explore, and just Nigerians do it. I don't see. This is where we beat Nigeria, Ghana, and all those people, because they don't have the kind of music history that we have.
Right.
Cameroon, to me, has the biggest library in terms of stocks of music, in terms of the plurality of the artists, from Joe William Masol to all those people that had that bass line that was Africa's vibe when they were doing it. Manu Dibangos, all of them. If we go back to them, and we could put something out on the global stage that would just be authentic and that can compete with all of those sounds.
Right. Amazing. I feel like, and this is going to be my second to the last question. For stand-up comedians, they always say that they leave best joke for the last. They would also add and say that it is good to leave the stage when the applause is still loud. I have the feeling that's what you're trying to do. Talk to me about that, and what's next for Epule Jeffrey?
Oh, leaving the stage. Yeah, I could have, decided to push, just, make take advantage of the buzz around this, put my life and say this is the Cameroonian actor on an artificial heart, and but you have to make the choice, personal choice at some point to get away from the spotlight and just reassess your stuff. When I left, I wasn't thinking about leaving when the applause was loudest. I wasn't even that, but talking about the afterlife is like I told you, it's trying to re-energize my industry, which I love so much, film, with trying to readapt it to the trends, and just trying to get people and more eyes on it, so that young actors will benefit from the things I was not able to benefit. I think that would be my biggest, So when I left Cameroon, a lot of people don't know, but I'll tell you this: the movie Silent Storm was my brainchild. My story, I worked hard for the movie, but at some point we fell out because I gave an opinion and I left because they wouldn't give me my credit for the work I did. And so that's one of the things, I have a particular issue when people are undervalued. And I started feeling undervalued. I started feeling used in the industry a lot. And I said, I made it a mark, okay, if I'm leaving, I don't want any other person, especially an actor who tries to gain the experience against the, everything that I work for, to go through the same process. So what I want to do in my afterlife is to make sure, work in a way that the actors are empowered. They understand the process, understand their dues, understand their power, understand where they can benefit, where they can lose. And it takes, you have to get back to the basics, go to school, understand not just acting, but the business around it. So more of storytelling. I do a lot of consultation on other projects. There are a lot of filmmakers who come to me and we talk about their projects and they're good to go. I do a lot of consultation in the background. I do a lot of input in terms of just crafting. I want to get into that digital marketing we talked about imperatively. At some point, I think by God's grace, I'll be using my personal story to bring it to the big screen. And then, an NGO for heart health. Those are my plans.
Really, really cool.
Yeah. I'll try to make it brief, yeah.
That again?
I said I tried to make it brief.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm just looking forward to all of those things, because like I said, I've just followed you from years. I think one time I even saw you at, I don't know if it was 2014 or something, or 2015. So I'm at Class Quarters in Boya, and I just see you pass, and I'm just like, that's a Jeffrey.
I hope I didn't snub you, because
no, I know that was like from far. I was just like,
thank God.
That's Epule Jeffrey, and I was just super excited.
Thank God. A lot of people will meet you and they'll be like, "I will salute you."
I know.
I'm like, God, when did that happen? I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
So I hope it wasn't a bad encounter. But now you're saying it was from afar. I'm safe.
No, it was from afar. I just saw it. I was just like, oh, that's now, and I know that's Epule Jeffrey, and then I just passed. The last question we always ask every guest on the podcast is, when all is said and done, how do you want to be remembered as Epule Jeffrey?
Oh Lord, I want to be remembered as, your G. You know that your guy.
Yeah.
That's all.
Kojo man, where if we discuss all things.
That your guy. So my brothers are my best friends. So I'm their G. My relationships, friends, or the women I've been with, they're my friends. We're G's. So I like to be remembered as that guy who was, that your cool brother, that your party man. That's all I want. Nothing else. I don't want anything complicated. I don't want to be Muhammad Gandhi. I don't want to be Kualonge. Bro, that my brother is he's a monster. So the little things that you just when you remember me is cool. I don't want to be.
I think you've gone so further a lot that there's just no way you just be remembered as Chi. Because there's a lot that you've done, which by default these are the things we would remember you for. These are the things we would, even when you're 70, 80, you're retired, or you're seated down and we're watching, okay, these are the people who laid the foundation for this. You know, there's a stage you reach in life where you can't undo the things you've done. That's where you are.
I asked for you to unceleb me. I hope you've done.
Unceleb was my entrance into your inbox. Why did you write that anyway?
Okay, the unceleb thing, how did I come about that? Was okay, so I've not been acting for a while, and even here in Canada, I go to play. Every time I step out and there are like 4 or 5 black people, I become suspicious because at least 1 or 2 of them would. Okay, and during most of my hospital visits, they'll ask me, what do you do? And I'm like, okay, I used to be a filmmaker, actor in Cameroon. Cameroon, what is that? I explain. And okay, you know these people, after a couple of days, they'll dig about you. And then they'll come into the room and there's a different look on their face. And they're looking at you and walking on you. And they're like, big shot, eh? So I'm dealing with a celeb here. I'm like, guy, it's not that deep. So, okay, I started getting into Facebook and I had a lot of time in my hands. I was in the hospital. So when there are a few live shows, I'll just dive in with Epule Jeffrey unconsciously. Once I get in and they'll be like, oh, the Epule Jeffrey's here, my bro. I'm like, what the? Come on. And the other thing was, when people will write to you and they'll be like, okay, grandfriend, how will you do? Jeremy, that kind of style. Yeah. A lot of things, and I'm like, guy. Even my friends, who grew up together, they'll meet me and they'll be like, celeb. I'm like, so I said, please, guys, could you unceleb me, please? It's a little too heavy. And if you ask a lot of people, they'll probably be in that same space. They just wanna breathe sometimes. Yes, yeah.
Anyway. Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I've enjoyed the conversation. I've enjoyed that there's a lot of positivity that you exude, even more than we think. And even just you being able to be positive despite all the things that you are having to go through, or that you have gone through, let me put it that way, despite all the things that you have gone through, and still finding that positivity and taking note that you were still just able to do all of this work during this time when you're having to battle with all these things, and then no one still knows of it. There was no point where you used it as a media thing to try to build an image from it. I think that tells a lot about your mental strength. It tells a lot about where you are mentally, how focused you are, and just how happy you just want to be alive and just do your thing. So Thank you for really accepting the invitation and being here on the platform. I really do appreciate this conversation.
The pleasure is totally mutual. Was totally mutual, because it's going to end.
If you just enjoyed this episode, the chances are that you're going to enjoy other amazing episodes that we've recorded, so you can check that out somewhere around this video. Before you go, please make sure you check our 3 boxes. First things first, please make sure to hit the subscribe or the follow button down below, because the more we grow, the bigger guests we can approach on this platform and the more value we can bring to you here on the podcast. Second, a lot of friends always reach out to me and say something like, hey, Arrey, I really did enjoy this particular segment of this episode. Pick up your phone and send this to a friend and say, hey, check this out between 10 to 15 minutes. There's something very important I'd love you to see. Number 3, please make sure to check out the links in the description for very helpful resources. You're going to find the link to join the Smart Club, which is my private mentorship club for friends who want to learn and master a high-income digital marketing skill. Whether your goal is to build your personal brand, become a freelancer, or get a job in digital marketing, the Smart Club is going to be the right place for you. So before you go, please make sure to tick those 3 boxes. Like I always say, my friends, cheers to many more years of shamelessly living and crazily excelling passion and purpose. And I'll speak to you in the next episode.